for joining me again. So in this video, I'm going to continue answering some of the questions that I was talking about last week. And specifically, I'm going to answer a question that is also quite common. And this is from solitary practitioners that really find a challenge in working with privacy. And they really feel like their magic is compromised or affected or not progressing because they have other people around. So I want to give you a few tips in this video how you can overcome that challenge. So let's get into the question as always first. So this is from Shazetta, and she says, I'm a solitary witch. I feel though I'm losing myself. I don't have enough privacy to practice and keep things personal. All I think about is magic and how I can't practice. Everything is falling apart, and I'm trying to figure what I can do to turn this around. Now, I don't know what you quite mean with what you said, everything is falling apart, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do to turn this around. You didn't go into any more detail about that, so I'm just going to assume it's because you can't continue on with your magical practices because of the lack of privacy. So this is such a common issue. So let's get down to some practical witchcraft matters, because if you're saying all you do is think about magic, then why are you not thinking outside of the box on how you can actually practice some magic? There's many ways to include magic in your day without having to break out all of these tools. Now, you might look behind me today and say, Savannah, don't be such a hypocrite. Look at all your junk and you love your tools. And yes, I do, even though I'm considered a black witch. I do love hoodoo style work. I love getting in there and getting my hands dirty and making a gigantic mess and using the candles and the oils and the herbs and everything else. But I'm also a master of mind control and energy. So when I do go away and travel, I don't need to take all of these things. I can feel like I'm a very competent witch or occultist, and I don't need all of this. I show you something that I do like to take when I travel. And this is because I could be traveling to places where witchcraft really isn't permitted, or would be frowned upon at the very least. Or I could be with people that find witchcraft practices unsavory. And I also suggest this to my students as well in some of my courses, who also say they're practicing occultists, like they're practicing working with demons, for example, and they're in their homes and they're wondering, how can I hide some of the tools? And yes, we do use some tools in that course. So how can you hide it? You may not have a permanent altar. So what you really need to do is get some level of box that you can easily hide or carry with you that isn't going to be so obvious. Now, you've probably thought about this and maybe you're rolling your eyes, but I'm going to show you what I mean. Now, I don't mean a shoebox. Now, if you can hide a shoebox easily in your closet, then fine. Maybe this might be the best option for you if you're, but if you're walking down to the park with your shoebox, people probably think you've got a dead cat or a bird that you're about to bury. That's what I used to do when I was a kid anyways. But you want a box that's a little bit more inconspicuous if you're leaving the house with it. But this could be a good option for an altar if you're around the home, right? And you can hide it. But what I really love, and when I travel, I have this little box here. And what I love about this box is not only is it quite hard, that I could use that for a surface, for something not too heavy, of course, but inside this box, I have all the little tools that I could want to have a successful ritual when I'm on the go. So what do I have in my little to-go box? Now, this box is really messy, okay, but let me just show you what I can do. I should have put some candles in there to make it look a bit fancy for this video, but I've literally just pulled this out of my bag because I've been traveling recently. Now, in here, I have a little, this is a little burner. So what you do with this burner, you put a piece of the charcoal disc in there, Okay, and I do have a little holder for that. Okay. Charcoal disc. I have a couple of different resins. I think that's myrrh. I've got copal. What else? That's all I have in this one. I have a candle and a candle holder. I love to use chime candles when I'm traveling because, of course, they can burn down quite easily, but they're very effective and they can easily just sit up there. Of course, I have a lighter with me. I have some oil, small carry size oil. I have, funny enough, a screwdriver. That's all I could put my hand on before I was running around somewhere, and I needed to inscribe in a candle, so this is what I've been using for that while I've been around. Yes, I've got a pen in case I need to write a petition. But most importantly, not most importantly, but additionally, I have, let's just call them prayer beads. But these serve a couple of purposes. Not only could I use this for a pendulum, okay, so a divination method while I'm traveling, but I could also use this to focus and concentrate while I'm meditating, to recite a demonic N, to really just focus and get into state when I'm chanting. There's so many things I could use these for, and also because these come from one of my main altars, this has a certain energy that's going to connect me with spirit straight away. And that's what it's really about. So you can have other things with you, maybe some herbs if you want some herbs. If a specific spirit you're working with magically enjoys such a herb, you would have some of that in there. But this is such an easy and perfect altar for either with traveling or for use at home. So even if you had to take this into the bathroom, would somebody bother you in there? Now you could say you have children bashing on the door. Well, I've had children too, and so they just need a little bit of discipline. Easier said than done, but you do need to set your boundaries. And I feel like that's part of witchcraft anyway, learning how to assert yourself a little bit better and take control of the mundane world through setting your boundaries, controlling your energy, projecting yourself in a way that you want to be treated by the other people in your life and the world in general. Also, what you can do, say you only have 2 minutes in the bathroom. Once you get that done, what else can you do? Well, you can take this little box to a park, an outdoor area. I always say it's nicer to do and much more effective in a lot of ways to do your rituals outdoors. So you've got your little magical kit, you take this outdoors. Maybe it's a spot that really helps you feel good about yourself. Maybe it's some park in the city that you like. Maybe like when I was living in Las Vegas, I really enjoyed the desert. I loved looking at Red Rock Mountains, sitting out the back, looking at the desert and up onto the rocks. It was so different. There's such a different energy. And so I would take my little devices, whatever I was using, and just sit out there and do my magic, harnessing the energy of the environment. That's really what it's about, right? The elements. So get out in the elements. The other thing, if you had something small, handbag size if you want, if you're out, just put it on your lap. How perfect is that? Like, really the only rituals that you'd have problems doing is something where you'd have to cast a circle or maybe sit inside a circle and have all your tools around the outside of the circle. You don't need to do that. Like, I know that feels good, and especially in many of the popular books, that's the way that you conduct the ritual. But for right now, you need to adapt and also maybe introduce other styles of magic. Maybe look at hoodoo magic, maybe look at chaos magic. And these are also really interesting and a way to incorporate magic in your life right now. So I have some tips for you that may not be as exciting as playing with your toys, but it's really about incorporating witchcraft into your everyday life. So the first tip is prayer. You might roll your eyes and say, oh my gosh, that has such Christian connotations to me, and I'm trying to move away from all of that. Prayer isn't about asking Spirit for help all the time, or begging, or groveling, or pleading your case. The purpose of prayer is to draw us closer to our gods, closer to our deity through intimate conversation. And in doing so, we become more like them. Okay? So what does this look like? This means that during the day, when I'm thinking, like when I say, oh my God, I'm not saying, oh my Jesus. And see, I had to now trigger myself to even say that. I'm thinking, praise Lucifer, oh my Lucifer. That's what I'm thinking in my head. It's the power of prayer in my life because I'm always connecting to deity. I'm always asking when I have those conversations about, I hope this person's okay. I hope that person's okay. I'm so happy. What a beautiful day. Praise to God. Praise to Lucifer. And so that magically is bringing that energy into my day all the time. This is what we were when back in the day, pre-Christian days, when we had multiple deities, when we would look to certain gods for different elements for success, or even to give for gratitude, I should say, or just to talk to. And prayer really helps us to reevaluate our circumstances. And so try and connect daily through conversations with deity, whoever you choose, or maybe multiple, to really help you grow. Also, as a witch, what is the number one way we increase our power or become more powerful? And that's through energy. So you need to learn how to meditate, maybe do a course on Reiki or pranic healing, something that isn't so freaky to the everyday person. And when you do that level of course, you're helping your magical practices because you're learning how to use energy. The other point is through really the idea of sacrifice, because when you're practicing sorcery or on the left-hand path, we're constantly giving offerings, and perhaps you're feeling like you're not giving enough to deity and they're somehow not connecting with you in day-to-day life. So think about what that word sacrifice means. Okay, but what sacrifice actually means is to make sacred. And so what can you make sacred in your day-to-day life for your deity? Think about that. What can you give to your deity? Now, remember, when you're inviting, I think a lot of people forget this, when you're calling to deity or asking them into your home, what you're actually doing is inviting, for example, a friend into your home. And when a friend's coming to your home, what do? You make sure the environment's pleasant. You might clean up a bit, put on some cool music, maybe make it smell pleasant. Perhaps you buy something that they like or make something that they like. You might make sure you have the liquor or the drink that they like to drink. So you're inviting them for them to spend time with you. And this is exactly what you need to be doing in your home now. As a solitary witch who can't practice witchcraft, you can still make your environment enticing. So, for example, say you can't burn incense because someone says it's taboo in your house. Well, then can you bake a cake with that type of scent in the environment? We have to remember that what we give to our gods, they give to us in return. So whatever you're doing at home in your day-to-day life, all you need to do is offer that to the gods. For you right now in your life, what you can sacrifice are things like your time, your money, maybe even your labor. How can you do this? You need to think about how you can give that in your life right now. Sacrifice is giving up something that we want to do for the benefit of somebody else. So when we sacrifice time, for example, at the altar, I'm sacrificing my most precious commodity. That's my time. There's so many other things that I could be doing with my time, but I'm doing ritual, I'm doing meditation, I'm doing prayer, I'm giving offering, I'm in service to Black Witch Coven, our members, our clients, my students. The idea is to give up, to make sacred something for another purpose. So what you're doing is you're setting up a whole cycle of giving and receiving. A lot of time when we're practicing magic, all we're doing is asking. And this is a great time for you to start setting up some really good relationships with spirits. Now, what can you give up? What can you offer? What can you sacrifice? This is something that you really have to decide yourself based on where you are and your community and what your community needs or what your family needs. But remember, what is the greatest sacrifice? It's time. Time is a commodity you can't get back. And so it's either time or it's money or it's your labor. Think about how you can offer that to somebody else. So then somebody else, your gods, may be offering that back to you. This is very, very important. And you might say, well, it's not at an altar. It's not spiritual. Yes, it is, because you know it is. You know what you're doing. You know, this is praise to Lucifer. I am going to offer myself, my services for you to assist the homeless today because they don't have anybody else. And so I'm doing this on behalf of Lucifer. Whatever feels authentic and organic and a sacrifice to you, that's what you're doing. Your family won't know that you're doing it for Lucifer or whatever, whichever deity you're doing it for, but he will know it's for him. This is what it's really about. So this is my last suggestion. Now, why not introduce one of the elements, one of each element into your home? You know what it's about. Your family might just think it's a candle or it's a lovely rock or it's a nice tree or what a lovely water feature. Maybe it's whatever spiritual practice your family is following and you have that up on the altar because that means the fifth element of spirit. But this is what you bring to that. And so when you're giving love to that object, when you're praising that object, when you're connecting with that object, you know what you're connecting with because you've made it your own spiritual object. Now, throughout history, people had to do exactly this thing because remember, I don't remember a time in history that I've read about that people have had the freedom to really do whatever they want like we can right now. We have so much choice. But in history, and especially in American history, people have come into this country and have had to hide their traditions in fear of losing their life. They've had to hide their religions and hide their magical practices with what they had. And this is exactly what you're doing now. As always, thank you for watching and I'll catch you next week.